Hi, and thanks very much for watching. So today I'm really going for the Holy Grail. We're going to look for high quality, high converting leads, something that is often quite difficult to find, but there is a way to do it. And we're going to talk about it through this concept called scorecard marketing. So before we kind of get into that, I really want to look at a little bit of history on financial advisor marketing, where it's come from, how it's changed, and where it's going next. And I believe scorecard marketing is one of the most exciting opportunities for financial advisors there have been for many, many years. So just a quick bit of background. A couple of years ago, I wrote this book. It's a full-on marketing book for financial advisors. And in many ways, it was a trip down memory lane for me, because I got started in 1978, meeting financial advisors all around the UK. And what was really interesting, if you look at the different types of marketing that successful financial advisors were doing, it's proper, good old-fashioned, old-school stuff. Everything from networking, seminars, paper newsletters, going to trade shows, all that good stuff that we did before the internet came along. In many ways, we've got a little bit lazy thanks to the internet and social media, but this stuff still works and it's really, really powerful. My latest book looks to the future and is fundamentally focused on personalizing your marketing, really using data so that you can communicate in a personalized way with people, and using some very high-tech digital technologies. So let me ask you a simple question. In an ideal world, would you like to know the names and financial details of everybody who visits your website? Do you think that would be a useful thing to know? Well, of course it would. So I'm going to show you how you can potentially get that and how you can interact and engage with people so that you really do attract more of the clients that you really do want. So what actually works for financial advisors in this day and age when it comes to marketing? Because there's all sorts of theories about this, lots of really top quality marketing consultants out there, but down there on the ground, what is actually working for financial advisors? So first of all, referrals. That's an interesting one. Referrals, I want to talk a little bit more about. Most financial advisors, you do a great job with a client and, it seems the right thing that you're going to pick up a referral as well. Seminars and webinars. In my view, the single most effective form of marketing for financial advisors are seminars. Always have been, always will do. Right now, in the middle of a pandemic, we can't do seminars, but we can do webinars. And many financial advisors in other countries are really using webinars in a very, very powerful and effective way to attract really high quality clients. Networking, trade shows, conferences, we can't really do those right now, so we've got to think of something else. LinkedIn and Facebook. They just work. The only thing is most financial advisors can't quite figure out how to make them work. With Facebook, it's fundamentally about advertising. You've got to have a budget for doing that, and you've got to have an expert who can actually help make that work for you. LinkedIn is all about online networking. And once again, many financial advisors just don't quite get it when it comes to LinkedIn, but trust me, LinkedIn works if you know the process. There are a variety of other things that we can see here, but what I really want to focus on today is educational content. What do I mean by educational content? Blogs, articles, videos, anything that you can use to add value to your prospects and your clients' experience. But we'll explore that a little bit more. But things are changing, and a lot of marketing techniques that we used to use are really running out of steam fast. As I said, we can't go to networking events right now. We can't go to trade shows. We can't go to conferences. We can't put on seminars. There's lots of things that we can't do, so we're having to look for other ways to get around it. So a lot of these things that we used to do just are really running out of steam. Even referrals, and I want to talk about that in just a moment. Things that we had this automatic right to a referral coming in, things are changing, and that's largely due to the internet. So let's go back in time. Back to 1998, round about the time, the dawn of digital, as they used to call it. We were all learning our way. I remember talking to financial advisor audiences back in the day saying, you're going to watch out for this new technique, this new technology. And most looked at me a bit nonplussed and thought, no, we'll just stick with the good old school stuff that we've always used. Social networking was really what it was all about when the internet started. If we think about 2003, when LinkedIn really got going, LinkedIn was a social networking site, not a social media site. And they are two fundamentally different things. We recognised technology as a really exciting opportunity, but we weren't quite sure how to go about it and make it actually really work for us. But fundamentally, if we were using any of these online tools, they were essentially free. We didn't actually need to pay. So all sorts of exciting times. Then it really started to motor. It was really easy to get followers online. You could go to any of the online platforms, just follow other people, they'd follow you back. The engagement you used to get with people, because it's such a new concept, it was free, it was easy. Everyone would see the content that you put out there, so the more you put out there, the more people were going to see it. And it was essentially free business. Do anything online, it just worked. And if you did it even on a vaguely regular basis, you would be considered an influencer. Yes, even within financial services. So we were all playing around with this stuff, and actually we were getting quite a good return on wasting a lot of time. Fast forward to 2020, things are really starting to change. Every single business is on social media. Most financial advisors have got websites now. Most are using social media in some way, shape or form. But unfortunately, as we all know, social media suddenly got really, really noisy, and it's quite difficult to filter through the noise. Our potential audiences were getting better at chopping out and not seeing the stuff they don't want to see. And one of the most important things was that many of the platforms started to monetize. What I mean by that, 5 years ago on Facebook, as I said, you could do pretty well anything and it would work. 2020, using Facebook, to use that effectively in business, you've really got to pay. Now, fundamentally, I've got a problem with paying to use Facebook ads, but as long as for every £1 of money that you spend on advertising, you're getting £2 or more back. And unfortunately, most financial advisors tend to find that when they spend £1 on advertising on Facebook, they only get 50p coming back. So we've got to make this stuff work if we're actually going to use it at all. So we need strategy, we need discipline, and we need a lot more focus. These days, we really are genuinely wasting our time unless we've got a plan, unless we've got focus, and unless we've got that strategy. So 2021, here we are. What's working now? What do we really need to be thinking about? Fundamentally, the most important thing we need to be thinking about for using any of these digital tools is to have a plan. If you haven't got a plan, it's simply not going to work. Everything you do online will just be wishy-washy, it will lack focus. So we've got to have a plan, we've got to have a strategy. We've got to focus on conversions. Far too many of us are thinking, okay, we've got our new website, it's great, it looks fantastic, but a great looking website is not as good as a website that converts visitors into actual inquiries and customers. When we're using social networking platforms, we need to remember the word networking. That means interacting and engaging. For example, LinkedIn rewards its users for networking behaviors. That means saying, great post, Mary, great post, Sue. Thanks for the value that you've just added. That is interacting and engaging. The worst sort of thing you can do on social media is check out our latest blog, click here. Those sort of posts, particularly on LinkedIn, get penalized, so very few people actually get to see them. We need to be thinking about business relationships as well, perhaps working with joint venture partners, perhaps working with influencers as well, who we can build really strong relationships with, so it's the most natural thing in the world for them to refer people to us. We need to be thinking about educational assets, and I want to talk about that in a moment. And everything we do online really has to be focused around creating really strong curiosity so that people think, I want to know more about this particular financial advisor. I like the look of their website. I like what they're doing there. I like the way they're networking and engaging online. I want to learn more about them. So let's talk a little bit about referrals, because this is really relevant to scorecard marketing as we move forward. You know, back in the day, before the internet, if we were at a dinner party and the topic of mortgages came up, for example, and he was saying, oh, I'm looking for a mortgage to help my daughter get started, or something like that, or my son. And does anybody know a mortgage advisor around here? Somebody around the table say, oh yeah, check out my advisor, Jones & Co. They're fantastic. And we would write Jones & Co. down on the napkin, and the next day we'd phone them up. Okay, that was before the internet. Today it's a little bit different. We're at that same dinner party, somebody recommends Jones & Co. to us, we write their website name down on the napkin, and the next day we don't phone them up. The next day, we go check them out online. We go onto Google, yeah? Maybe we go onto Facebook. Maybe we'll have a look on Twitter. We'll certainly look on LinkedIn as well. And of course, while we're online looking for Jones & Co, because we want to see what they do, we want to see photos, do they look professional, do they look credible and trustworthy? But while we're looking at them, we'll be distracted by other mortgage advisors, other financial advice firms as well. In fact, it's entirely possible that we might actually see a blog, or we might find a podcast, might see a YouTube channel, which actually answers the questions that we wanted to ask that financial advisor. And we might actually think, actually, I don't want to talk to the financial advisor. After all, I can figure it out myself. So most financial advisors now are starting to be aware of this, really particularly the sharp ones who are much more strategic about their marketing. And they're thinking about, we've got to dominate this place online so that when people are looking for experts like us, we get found as well. So this prompts a new kind of marketing strategy for financial advisors. One that's based around educating people in a variety of different ways. One that's based around having a website that actually makes people want to take the next step because they're curious. We want to have a strategy that really tries to personalize our marketing as much as we possibly can. I want to give you an example of that in just a moment. And we want to be thinking about the concept of a value ladder so that when people come into our world, they feel that there's a natural progression of the relationship that we want to, so that we can build that relationship and move things forward. So, what about financial advisor websites? There are some fantastic looking financial advisor websites out there today. And that is so, so important because we've got to look professional, yeah? It's got to, in the absence of meeting us in the real world, what have they got? They've got our website. Maybe they've got our LinkedIn profile. Maybe they've got a video that we've got to do. There are so many problems that you can see on this particular slide here about financial advisor websites. They don't have strategy. Most financial advisor websites all say the same thing. So how do we differentiate ourselves? In many cases, they have far too much information on them. They, in many ways, are more like a brochure. And you've got to ask the question, well, why would someone want to read a brochure online on a screen any more than read it on glossy paper or cardboard? They lack focus. They lack detail. There's nothing to grab people and say, thanks for visiting my website, come on in. And that's where the scorecard concept comes in, which I'm going to explain in a minute or two. We tend not to have lead magnets. I think a lot of financial advisors, particularly in the UK, don't like the concept of the lead magnet. It sounds a bit American. It sounds a bit salesy. But that's what we need. We need people to see that there is some value that they can get in exchange for giving us their email address. Download our free tip sheet on how to build your income in retirement. Download our tip sheet on this, that, and the other. Give us your email address. And that's a fair exchange of value to do that. We don't tend to collect data from our websites, which is so, so important as well. And to be really quite honest, most financial advisors' websites are not converting. They look great, but they lack strategy. And that's something I want to talk about. Now, I did some research into 100 financial advisors' websites about a year ago. And one thing I'd absolutely discovered was the average number of people who bounce straight off your website, this is the bounce rate, they arrive on your website and then they leave straight away, is over 50%. So you're losing more than half your website visitors straight away. There's nothing there that's got their attention that says, come into my world. One of the main reasons for this was there was far too much content on the homepage alone. On average, I was counting about 34 clickable links on the homepage of most financial advisors' websites, okay? And so you're doing all this great marketing. You're using social media, you're using social networking. Maybe you're blogging, maybe you're doing some educational content, but people are arriving on your website and it is like hitting a brick wall, okay? They're just confused with all the links, all the things to do. So we need to find a way so that when people do visit our website, they want to and they are eager to engage with you further. So many financial advisors' websites, what we've got is a situation where it is no different from going down to the local shopping mall and handing out leaflets in the hope that someone will start to take notice. So we need to make some changes. I've always maintained that the best view of your business, your shop, for want of a better word, is from the inside. We can make our business look fantastic on the outside with a great website, but really all the action happens on the inside. So what we've got to do with our websites and our marketing is to do everything we possibly can to attract people to actually come in and experience what we have to offer. What our websites need is they need us and our websites to speak to them. They want to feel as though we're actually talking to them as individuals. They need to feel that they're being looked after. They need to feel that we understand their problems, and they need to understand and get a sense of our expertise as professionals. And they really want to find a reason why they should engage with you. Considering everybody else has got a great looking website, what's the difference going to be that's going to make them want to come in and speak to you? So let me ask you a question. In fact, I asked this question to a large group of financial advisors this week. And the question was, regardless of the source of a new lead, to what extent do you have the information you need to decide whether to take the inquiry further? And I actually wasn't really surprised by the answers. What the answers were telling me were that over half of the financial advisors said when a new lead comes in, wherever it comes from, whether it's a referral, a seminar, a Facebook ad, they still need more information to decide whether or not this is something they want to work with. Some have some information, but they still need to go back. And a tiny, tiny percentage of financial advisors actually said, actually, broadly speaking, we've got all the information we need. So here's a really interesting thing, and I think this tells us something about how we go about generating leads these days. Whether we're using listings, seminars, whatever we're using, we still need more information when a lead walks in through the door or sends us an email. So how are we going to do that? Just imagine for a moment there was a way to A, attract more website visitors, B, engage and convert them, C, give them massive, instant and free value, pre-fill your fact find at the same time, and so that enables you to pick and choose who you want to work with. That sounds too good to be true, but there is actually a way to do it, and it's called scorecard marketing. One of the most important aspects of scorecard marketing is how you personalize the experience that people have when they first arrive on your website. And this enables you to get data. It enables you to make your website work harder and indeed smarter. It enables you to educate people at the same time, so they want to know more about you. And your website addresses their individual concerns. Now, let me give you an example of what I mean by personalized marketing. Let me give you 2 or 3 examples. Now, when I worked for Zurich Life, you all know Zurich Life, yeah? I was head of national accounts, and that meant I was partly in control of the marketing budget, which meant that advertising agencies would pitch to me for some of our budget. And on one particular day, what arrived in the post was this wonderful thing, a see-through envelope, and it looks like a sort of mirror that someone's written in the steam on the window. Phil Calvert, you change your toothbrush when it's worn out, so why not change your agency? Now, this was done before Photoshop, so someone did this by hand. Do you think that got my attention? Of course it got my attention, because it got my name on it, and it made me smile as well. The same agency, a few weeks later, sent me this. They sent a picture of an attractive lady with my name tattooed on her arm. Do you think that got my attention? Of course it got my attention. Again, done before Photoshop. This was done by hand. This is personalized marketing. So let me give you another example of personalized marketing, one that really, really impressed me, and it was a personal example. A few years ago, I was selling my own house, and I went round all the local estate agents in our village, and they all promised me exactly the same thing. They all looked the same, they all had the same decor, they all promised me an amazing service, and all their fees were much the same as well. So it was really difficult to choose between one or another. So I went home, quite confused, to think about it overnight. But the following morning, in the post, arrived something really quite interesting, a brown envelope. But inside the brown envelope was a piece of red carpet. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. Maybe when I move house eventually, if there's a little square there, I could put the red carpet in there. But it was what was on the other side that really impressed me. And it says, Philip, all our clients get the same red carpet treatment. Now that is proper old school marketing. Personalized, it just got my attention. These were the ones that got my business. So that's how personalized marketing works, and it is incredibly effective. But the great thing is we can do that online as well now. We can do that in a digital environment, and we can do that with scorecards, I'm going to show you. So what personalized marketing does, it gets our attention. It starts the process of us going up the value ladder. A value ladder is the process of trust building so that people can get to know us, get to like us, build that trust so that it becomes inevitable that they actually want to work with us. So the value ladder for a dentist, for example, quite a lot of dentists these days, particularly in the digital world. They've all got websites. All their websites say exactly the same thing. So a lot of dentists will do is offer free teeth cleaning or free teeth whitening just to get you in the building. They give you a great service, really look after you, get some testimonials off you, so it becomes much more likely that you're going to stay the course with them. The value ladder for a financial advisor. You know, the world is your oyster in this one. We're only limited by our own imaginations as to what we actually do. And all of these things that you can see here could form part of your value ladder. A free e-guide, a free tips book, a scorecard, a book even, an audiobook, stuff that educates people. This is the point. All these things here, the vast majority of them are educational assets that you can use to build relationships with potential clients. I want to show you one more, and this one's really close to my heart. A few years ago, I discovered that, my mother sent me a little book. And it is, 4 inches long. It is 100 years old. And it's produced by Gordon's Gin. And I got in touch with the Gordon's archivists and I said, look, I've inherited this. Can you tell me anything about it? And they said, this was an educational marketing piece designed by Tanqueray Gordon's to add value to existing people who love Gordon's Gin, but also to encourage more people to come in. They used to give it away in off licenses. And basically what this little book is a cocktail making book, full of little gin cocktails. So Gordon's Gin lovers can make some cocktails, but it will also attract some people into the world of Gordon's Gin. That is an educational asset and a really, really powerful piece of marketing. What about financial advisors? Martin Bamford here, written several books. These are part of his value ladder. They are educational assets, yeah? Catherine Morgan, she runs online challenges. These are educational assets that she uses. And Pete Matthew, who does his podcast, he's got his YouTube channel. These are educational assets that just work. It is as simple as that. So let me tell you another story from early on in my career about how you can use this in a variety of different ways. So there was a financial advisor that I used to call on in the early part of my career as a broker rep for a large insurance company. And this was in southwest London. And this particular financial advisor was very, very successful. His name was Mick. He lived in a place called St George's Hill in Weybridge. And his next door neighbour, to give you an idea of how successful he is, his next door neighbour was Cliff Richard, okay? And he was a one-man band essentially, and his wife did some work with him as well. And he used to focus on predominantly printing companies in southwest London. He seemed to have got a bit of a name for himself as the financial advisor to print shop owners. So he would do the mortgages and the investments and the pensions for the owners of these businesses, but he would always ask them and said, look, would it be possible to do a presentation in the tea break or the lunch break to all your staff? And they would always say yes. He offered them a great service, so he would do a 20-minute presentation to all the staff. And sometimes there'd be like 5 people in the room, and some of the bigger companies, there were 500 people in the room. But what he did was a thing called his 1-minute money quiz, which was essentially a postcard that he would hand out to everybody in the audience with these 5 simple questions. And he would say to people, could you just answer the questions, fill in your name and your address, and please hand them back in. And everybody would hand back in the completed postcards, and he would do an instant prize draw for a book token or a bottle of wine, something like that. But what he'd essentially got was data from every member of the audience. And, as financial advisors, you can pick up a lot of information from just those 5 simple questions. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a scorecard by any other name. Long before the internet really took off, this was a good old-fashioned, old-school scorecard. Ask questions, get the answers, and then what he would do, he'd take all the postcards home, and between him and his wife, he would send a personalised letter to every single person who'd completed a scorecard. Several copy and paste paragraphs, but nevertheless the letter was personalised. And he would be able to say to people, look, thanks for completing our little questionnaire. Clearly you're on top of your saving, you're really doing well, congratulations on that. But we can see from your other answers that you've potentially got a problem around life assurance or sickness insurance. Is that something you'd like to work on? And 9 times out of 10, when they sent that personalized letter based on the answers to those questions, people would say, yeah, please, we'd love to get that work. And that's how he attracted his clients. As I said, that is a scorecard from the old days. Okay, it's really simple, worked an absolute treat. So, scorecard marketing is a way to get to know each prospect as an individual and then follow it up with personalized messaging. So we're going to have a look at how we can integrate that with our websites and do it in the digital age. It is about creating a quiz or a survey or a scorecard on your website which people complete. They take this survey and then they get an instant score and a personalized result, which means that the financial advisor can then follow up each of the results based on that scorecard. So let's have a look at that in a bit more detail. A scorecard is a fantastic technique and it's really powerful for any business that has to get to know someone before they can become a client. Remember I said a little bit earlier, all those leads that financial advisors are receiving, for the most part, you still have to go and get more information. Well, imagine if the first time someone made contact with you, they gave you that information that you need to decide whether or not to take them on as a client. Now, this works on a variety of different ways, particularly at a psychological level. It's based around curiosity. Human beings love to benchmark themselves against some sort of standard. To get an instant assessment. And I'm sure all of you watching this, we've all done it, haven't we? We've all gone onto a website somewhere or onto an app on our phones. We've completed some sort of questionnaire about ourselves and we've got a score and we take it or leave it, okay? And the person who offered you the quiz or the survey in the first place, they've got some information. At the very least, they've got your name or they've got an email address that they could follow up. It's a lead magnet, but it's a lead magnet which gives an extreme amount of value to people. So, as I said, we've done all these things. We've all done these online quizzes. How fit am I? How intelligent am I? Am I ready for retirement? Is my business idea ready to pitch? How charismatic am I? There's all sorts of quizzes that we all take online. And yet, within financial services, with the exception of my friend Mick, who was doing it back in 1988, most of us just aren't doing that. And it's the most fantastic opportunity to really get some high quality new leads. So what a scorecard is, it's a simple, attractive website survey page. It's like a one-page website with a survey on it. 20 to 40 questions, okay? And those questions, they're not difficult, they're just there to elicit simple yes, no answers. We don't want people to have to think too hard about it. We don't want people to go and look stuff up. As a result, when they finish taking the survey, they get an instant score that is personalized and they get a personalized report based on their answers. Just like Mick was doing, he took the postcards home, he looked at their answers, they sent a personalized letter based on the answers to those questions. They have an opportunity at the end of taking their scorecard to get in touch with you, say, I want to learn more about your services, but that's not really the important. The important bit is that you get data that you can follow up. And the whole thing is GDPR compliant as well. So what it does for financial advisors is, in a nutshell, it dramatically enhances your website by putting value right at the very heart of what you're doing. People arrive on the website says, here, take our quiz. Find out how relevant equity release might be to you. Find out how ready for retirement you are. Find out how well protected your family is in the event of you being ill. So they take the quiz because it's really difficult to resist actually taking the quiz. And in my view, this is an absolute game changer for financial advisors. Simply adding a digital quiz to your website. One of the most important things is how it positions you. The fact that you're the one asking the questions, you're the one that's offering the quiz, it positions you as a person of authority and of expertise, and it adds massive value. But here's the thing, the person arriving on your website, they fill out the scorecard, they get their report, they get their score, and they can go away and they can leave it at that. But what you've got is not only have you got their name, you've also got their email address and you've got all the answers to their questions. Again, think about Mick's postcard again. Think how powerful the answers to that question are. And that enables you to go through all the inquiries that come in. And you can literally say, I like to look at that one, I'm going to follow them up. Don't think we can help them, don't think we can help them. I like the look of them. You can now pick and choose the clients that you actually want to work with. And that means that when you approach them for the first time, already with the knowledge that and the information they've given you, the quality of the conversations you're going to be able to have with them right from the start is significantly higher than has ever been possible before. Now, to me, this goes way beyond just being another marketing tool that someone told you ought to use. And, I'm the first to caution against shiny new object syndrome. Oh, this is new, this is digital, this is exciting, we've got to use it. This thing is so powerful. Simply asking questions, it is so powerful. What we've now got is not only a marketing tool, but we've got an asset of your business. And when you've got a valuable asset in your business, you've really got to look after it and you've really got to use it. So yeah, you can plug this into your existing website, or it can be a standalone website in its own right. But fundamentally, you want to promote the living daylights out of this thing. Just promote it everywhere. Put it on your business card. Plaster it all over your LinkedIn profile. On your out of office answer phone message, put a link to your scorecard. Give everybody the opportunity to go through your scorecard, go through your survey, whatever it is you want to call it, as often as you possibly can. So here's just a variety of different ways that you can promote your scorecard, and there's so many more. Again, we're only limited by our imaginations how we actually use this thing within our business. And I stress again, it's not just a marketing tool, it's a powerful asset of your business that you can use in a variety of ways. Now, most scorecards need to have a theme. So you could have a fitness scorecard. You could have a readiness for retirement scorecard. You could have a clarity around wealth scorecard. The sky's the limit. But the more powerful and the more focused the theme is, the more likely it is that people want to go through it. And here are just a few examples of scorecards from other industries that are out there, that are working, that people are using, and that are literally game changers for business owners. So different themes: readiness for retirement, work-life balance, attitude to wealth, financial fitness, whatever you want to call it. Think about your ideal clients that you actually want to attract, and then come up with a theme. What would they like to know about themselves through taking a quiz, through taking a survey, and come up with the questions that will be most appropriate to them. So just to kind of sum that up, come up with a theme. You want to come up with some question categories. You want to come up with your questions. After people go through your questions, they get a score. They get category scores as well. They get a report that's personalized to them as well. There's usually a call to action at the end, but you then have the opportunity to personalize your follow-up based on the information that they give you on the scorecard. So here's just one example of one. I have a LinkedIn scorecard. I do a lot of LinkedIn consultancy, so I've got a thing called the LinkedIn Health Check. And I've got one aimed at all sorts of businesses, and I've also got one aimed at financial advisors. So what I say to financial advisors, discover your LinkedIn strengths and weaknesses with our free LinkedIn Health Check. And it is a series of questions divided into categories. And this is just some screenshots of the actual site itself. And it gives them a bit of process: answer your questions, get your report, take some action, improve your whole experience of LinkedIn. And here are the categories. So I've got a category for strategy, I've got a category for profile, a category for how you communicate with people, and others as well. Now, what's quite interesting is when people go through my LinkedIn Health Check, some people will score really well on perhaps their strategy, or they might score really well on their profile, but they might score really badly on how they're networking and communicating with other people. So they get their report, they get their score, okay, and I give them a freebie to say thank you for doing it. But what it means is I can now phone them up or send them an email. I can follow them up and say, hi, John, I see you've done really well on your LinkedIn Health Check, particularly well on the profile section, but I noticed you're missing a few tricks in the way you're using the networking facilities on LinkedIn. And I reckon if you improve that, your whole experience of LinkedIn will be significantly improved. Is that something you'd be interested in learning more about? And 9 times out of 10, people go, well, yeah, actually, if you can show me how to improve that score, they'll want to take it further. So it works really well for me. And these are just some of the questions that I ask in my LinkedIn Health Check. Have you got a LinkedIn strategy? Have you personalized your LinkedIn URL? Have you got a company page? Simple sort of yes/no questions that people can go through, and based on their answers, they get a score and they get a report, they get value, I get data that I can then follow up. And here's an example, just a screenshot of one particular score. And what you can do is you can chop and change the colors. You can brand it up so it looks like exactly the same as your website. You can put your logo on it. The sky's the limit. and here's category scores that you have as well. And here's a freebie. I'll give them a free copy of my book to say thank you for doing that. So this has turned my website from being an online brochure into something that's highly interactive and of real high value to the people who arrive on my website. In other words, I give them something to do. I get them to come into my store. The view from the inside is so much better than the view from the outside. So I get their name, their email address, their phone, where they heard about it, and I get their results and I get their data. I'm not particularly fussed what their score is, but what I really love is the data that comes in underneath. This, for financial advisors, is an absolute game changer. Turns your website into something of genuine value to your website visitors. And I can just go back to people, you can go back to people and say, thanks for taking our scorecard. I see you've done really well on this particular aspect of it, but I can see you've got a bit of a problem in this particular area. Is that something you'd like some help with? And most people say, yeah, tell me more about it. You can use it in a variety of other ways as well. I know financial advisors are now using this as part of their onboarding process. Every new client that comes in, whatever the source, they say, look, please take our scorecard so we can just learn a little bit more about you. The data that people give you through their answers to the scorecard gives you information for your newsletters, your other communications that you put out there as well. And it also builds your mailing list. You know, not everybody who goes through your scorecard you're going to want as a client, but you can at least add them to your mailing list for another day, and they may well refer other people onto you in future. And there's even more uses. And again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but I know some financial advisors now who are putting their clients through their scorecard every single year. So they can just follow their progress, see if their answers are changing, but it gives them opportunities to have conversations with them to remind them of the great service that the financial advisor offers as well. And here's a comment from a financial advisor, only literally a couple of days. He said, he launched his scorecard just a few days ago. I just launched my scorecard quiz for my clients. I banged it out last night in my newsletter, and I've already had 10 people come back. I'm amazed at the insight this has given me into my clients' thoughts and behaviors around money, and it's absolutely fascinating. And he goes on, scorecard completion pre-new client onboarding will now be a must. And he says, I'll look like a mind reader, such is the value and the insight of the information gathered. So this sounds almost too good to be true, but there are financial advisors who are already starting to use scorecards. It is producing amazing results for them. You want to come up with a name for your scorecard, and here's just a few suggestions that some financial advisors are doing. It entirely depends on the type of business that you're trying to attract into your business. What is it that you want to learn from people when they take your scorecard, and what value do you want to give for them in exchange? You don't have to call it a scorecard. You can call it an assessment test, you can call it a calculator, an analysis, a quiz, identifier, health check, or even an MOT. Again, the sky's the limit. At the end of the day, it's a quiz, it's a survey, and we all know everyone loves a quiz. You come up with questions. So for example, if you were doing a scorecard around equity release or later life lending, you want to come up with some categories for your questions. So one category could be, how much do people know about later life lending? Another category could be, is equity release right for me or my circumstances? And another category would be, would I qualify? And you ask questions within those particular categories. Does this work for financial advisors? Well, first of all, I know financial advisors who are using this, and as we saw from Mike there, he's absolutely blown away by the results. I myself are using this as well. So when I'm doing marketing training, I gave an example recently where I was talking to a largest firm of financial advisors. I was doing some marketing training, particularly around LinkedIn. And I said, at the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you a link to my LinkedIn health check where you can get a personalized assessment of how well you are using LinkedIn in your business. And at the end of the webinar, I gave them the link. I said, bye-bye. And I went and make a cup of coffee, came back 10 minutes later, and there's 97 leads sitting in my inbox. That's 97 people who immediately went through my LinkedIn health check because they perceived it to be of such high value. So financial advisors who are really thinking carefully about their marketing, maybe you're doing webinars, maybe you're starting to think about doing seminars in the future, maybe you have a blog, maybe you have a podcast, maybe you have a newsletter. Tell people about your scorecard and just watch them want to complete this. They see this thing and they think, this is where the curiosity really kicks in. They just feel they have to go through this thing. So to wrap up, your scorecard gives instant value for your website visitors. It gives them a personalized report based on their particular situation and the answers to their questions. The report is kind of proof of your expertise and credibility. And it is a lead generation tool enabling you to pick and choose who you want to follow up. It gets to help you understand each individual prospect as an individual right from the very first time that you come across them or they interact and engage with you. And it enables you to follow up with personalized messaging. This is the real key to this, personalizing your interaction with them. And finally, no more need for reliance on marketing that's running out of steam. Okay? All those old school marketing ideas, they still work as part of a proper, well thought through marketing strategy. But if you want to use the digital era, start using things that really hook onto people's curiosity. Start using digital techniques that really add value. Start using techniques that enable you to personalize your approach to them and therefore give them a personalized response and answer. And they will love you for it. So, is a scorecard right for your particular business? I know some of you thinking this, no, I don't think that's for me. That's absolutely fine. But I know there'll be others of you thinking, well, this is certainly something worth looking at. So I can give you some examples of ready-made scorecards that financial advisors are using. And I'd love you to get in touch with me. Please use that email address and I'll be delighted to help you out. So thanks very much for watching today. I hope you found that useful and I hope we meet up again in the near future.